content for this specific project.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there's so many ways to use English in this anyway, because all her ideas are just communication, right? Isn't that
Communications.
I think she's very clear about the enduring understanding she wants the kids to get out of this project.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
You know, her essential question, you know, she really wants them to understand that they have choice. They have personal choice with food, with what food they choose to eat, buy. And then there's that kind of this bigger idea of the relationship between geography of where we live and this systemic, right, how we get our food, where we live, how we get our food. And that's a really big idea. So there, I see, I'm processing this right now, I see kind of two parts to this. Kind of the big, you know, oh my gosh, there's a big system of how the food even landed here right in front of me, right? And then the, what do I have to do with it anyway? You know, how do my personal choices relate to that whole process and system? That seems clear to me. I think where I'm still fuzzy is the assessment, and I mean, obviously that's her big question as well. So if those are the two things she wants to measure, right? Their understanding of the system and then how they relate to this system. She seems very open, you know, she says with the multiple intelligences, like, well, she seems very open to how they show the understanding of those two key ideas. Maybe the uncertainty is more of what Cammie's talking about, creating this very clear explanation or rubric of, okay, yes, you have all kinds of ways you could show your learning, but, you know, I do have some very clear criteria on what that needs to involve. I think that's where it's still a little bit fuzzy.
I see her making a lot of drafts, you know, and needing to she needs to. She needs to make sure it's clear for them before they start, so she can get the end product she wants.
Yeah.
But I see her also needing to maybe come back to us as a group and just get our feedback. Is it clear? Am I covering it? Is it broad enough, yet specific enough at the same time?
Yeah, I think that's really the big question for teachers is how do you want to keep it broad to give them choice and have that student ownership and buy-in, and yet you, as a teacher, you're real clear on, oh, I need them to learn this, I need them to really, you know, hit these certain skills or competencies. So
And that brings forth the question too of how much inquiry, how much do you leave room for inquiry, and if the inquiry takes them in a different direction, what does that mean for the student? Because we want that, right? And so how is that project leave room for the inquiry and the changing evolution of a student's project?
Yeah, yeah.
Where I've always struggled as a teacher is, you know, there are these two big things you're tending to as a teacher of the, okay, are they getting this big idea? They're getting this big idea. And then there's the creating the board game, or the creating a product, right? Or designing your movie, your dance, your whatever creative expression is. And there are those two things, and where I've, you know, kind of struggle as a teacher is sometimes we give lots of time for kids to create, and then sometimes in their, and we love it because they're enthusiastic and they're engaged, right? And they're enjoying that process, and then, but then sometimes we're like, hey, don't forget the big idea! Don't forget sustainability!
That's right, they get so into
You know, so there's that. But then if they're so engaged, you're like, wow, you know, at least they're so engaged that we can just remind them of the idea. I don't know. She talked about the IB criteria, and I think this is just, it really, anything can fit this. Using language to narrate, I mean, these are choices, right? They don't do all of these things. They choose. They can narrate a story about sustainability, describe the system and where you fit it, right? Analyze, yeah, there's a lot of analysis. She's having them do a lot of research and analysis here. explain, argue, persuade. So maybe they actually take a stance on this issue and then they persuade, you know, their point of view, inform, entertain. So I mean, the criteria, it's broad enough.
This could be her rubric.
Taking a stance to
Yeah.
kind of connects to something Laura said about if she had more time, wishing that they could actually create an action plan to take it a step further. If there was more focus on that persuasion piece, there might be more that they could do in that particular venue or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Laura and I have discussed some different options before that, you know, maybe she doesn't have enough time for in this particular unit, but maybe if you had a longer period of time to have a panel kind of discussion be the final assessment where each student plays a role in the system. You know, one person's the developer, one's the farmer, one's the, you know, whatever the
Warehouse.
person, the homemaker, or person who does the shopping.
Consumer.
Yeah, the consumer. But that takes so much, you know, background steps. What was the other one? Oh, the other one is that personal choice piece. This one, I don't think, this is doable. I don't think it takes a lot of time because they're already doing all this background research anyway. Just bringing it back in the end to themselves, and where they do like a food plan for a week or a month just for their family. And going back to that pre and post idea, like what does your food plan in your family look like now for the month?
Yeah.
Pre-test, right? And at the end of this unit, okay, what you design now that to show your learning, have you changed your mind at all? You know, what has influenced you to change your mind in your food plan for your family now? They're 15 years old, so they don't really have the power to go out and do the shopping for the money or the car. But you know, ideally, if you're the one going out shopping for your family, what's your plan? You know, what would you like it to look like?
So I think 15-year-olds like that kind of thing. I remember that in class. Oh, I didn't choose. You know? Absolutely.
I like the project. I think it's really cool.
It's got so much potential.
Yes.
The fear as a teacher is it running away from you because it has so much potential.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's very rich.
Yeah.
And perhaps just being okay with, like you said, that inquiry process of, well, okay, you know, am I okay if the students kind of focus on this instead of this, or
Oh, that's
you know,
right.
allowing
That's right.
for them to go in different directions.
And I think if it's very clearly defined what you're assessing, the specific things that you're assessing, then the inquiry process is going to be okay, because you'll still know, okay, they're going to create something, these are the specific things I'm measuring, but even if it kind of moves in a different direction, those things will still be there, I think.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
qualities will be there.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Creativity. I mean, she's getting on it already.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's and I think it's a matter of putting language to it, right? What do we mean as a class doing this rubric together?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what does creativity look like? What does success look like for this particular quality? Connectivity, okay.
Yeah.
What do we mean by that? And that's bringing in her content of sustainability, right? The relationship idea. And the conventions, that one is, okay, whatever product or way you're going to communicate, choosing the proper, you know, conventions and structure for that. You know, and that may require some research. If they've never done a film before, you know, they might need to go and find out, you know, what's involved in making what's a good film. Right.
And how does it all tie back to the essential question?
Yes. Am I expressing my learning? Yeah, about this. Am I answering the question? It's complex.
Yeah.
It's exciting, though.
Excellent. Excellent.
I like your idea of maybe having an intermittent project tuning later.
Yeah.
You know, after she gets into it, after the class
Yeah.
gets into it, and do a little review and see how it's going.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, the presenter rejoins and shares her ahas or thoughts with us. And wrap it up.
Okay, thank you so much. This is so useful to me. I think I would really. What I heard was that that this is worth doing, even though it's like intimidating that it will run away from me, and that I should do the rubric with them rather than create it on my own. So that like it's tempting to go in and say, okay, you need to have these 5 things in your project, whatever you do, so that they know where they're going from the get-go. But in a sense, even when you tell somebody something, it doesn't sink in unless they were part of the forming of it. So I think that's my biggest aha from this, is that I want to make the rubric with them.
Great. Okay, thank you all.